today's chapter would be biodiesel. So a little introduction to biodiesel. What is biodiesel? Biodiesel is a liquid biofuel obtained by chemical processes from vegetable oils or animal fats, and an alcohol that can be used in diesel engines alone or even blended with diesel oil. ASTM International, originally known as the American Society for Testing and Materials, defines biodiesel as a mixture of a long-chain monoalkyl esters from fatty acids obtained from renewable sources to be used in diesel engines. So biodiesel, it blends with diesel fuel, and as it is indicated as Bx, where X is the percentage of biodiesel in the blend. For instance, B5 indicates a blend with 5% biodiesel and 95% diesel fuel. In consequence, B100 indicates pure biodiesel. So, this is the cycle of how biodiesel looks like. As we can see in the diagram, it all starts with sunlight. Through the process of photosynthesis, plants grow, and this provides us with the necessities to create vegetable oils. After some refining processes and even some transesterification, we will then obtain biodiesel, which is then used in vehicles. And then vehicles would then emit carbon dioxide from the exhaust gases, and it is then used again by plants to photosynthesize. So the cycle of biodiesel is as this diagram. The advantages of biodiesel provides renewable fuel, as it is obtained through vegetable oils and animal fats. It has low toxicity compared with diesel fuel. Toxicity is the level it is poison to human being or environment. Biodiesel also degrades a lot easier than diesel fuel, which helps in minimizing environmental pollution. Biofuel spills. What does it mean by degrade? It means decay, but therefore biodiesel decays easier. It has also lower emissions of contaminants, carbon monoxide, particulated matter, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and aldehydes. Aldehydes are an organic compound containing the group CHO, formed by the oxidation of alcohols. Typical aldehydes are methanol and ethanol. Biodiesel also have lower emissions of carcinogenic substances, which provides lower health risks. Carcinogenic means cancerous, which it could create cancer cells in humans. Therefore, it is safer to use biodiesel. Using biodiesel will also produce zero sulfur dioxide emissions. Sulfur, as we know, is dangerous, and when sulfur dioxide is combined with water and air, it will produce sulfuric acid, which leads to acid rain. Biodiesel also has a higher flashpoint, at least 100 degrees Celsius minimum. What is flashpoint? Flashpoint is the temperature at which a particular organic compound gives off sufficient vapor to ignite in air. Biodiesels can also be blended with diesel fuel at any proportion. It works as an excellent lubricant, and biodiesel is the only alternative fuel that can be used in conventional diesel engine without needing any modifications. Pretty cool, right? So, even though they have their advantages, biodiesel also has its disadvantages. First off, it has a slightly higher fuel consumption due to the lower calorific value of biodiesel. It also has a slightly higher nitrous oxide NOx emissions than diesel fuel. NOx forms smoke and contributes to acid rain and formation of ground level ozone that can damage the ecosystem. Higher freezing point than diesel fuel, not suitable for cold climates. Because of this, biodiesel is not recommended for usage in cold weathers, such as Alaska. Biodiesel is less stable and not recommended to store for long term. It is recommended that biodiesel is not stored up to more than 6 months. Biodiesel dissolves the deposits of sediments and other contaminants from diesel fuel in storage tanks and fuel lines, which are then flushed away by biofuel into the engine, which will cause problems in the valves and injection systems. Therefore, it is required that the tanks to be cleaned prior to filling with biodiesel. This way, the problems in the valves and injection systems can be avoided. An important note, disadvantages are significantly reduced when biodiesel is used in blends with diesel fuel. So, what are the types of biodiesel? Biodiesel is most often blended with petroleum diesel in ratios of 2% referred to as B2, 5% B5, or 20% B20. Pure biodiesel is B100, can also be used in many applications. Diesel engines can use biodiesel fuels without changes to the engines. Biodiesel blends are also used as heating oil. Petroleum diesel fuel tanks and equipment can also store and transport biodiesel. Below shows the types of biodiesel blends available on the market. Next, we have biodiesel characteristics. Table on the left shows the general characteristics of biodiesel. So these are the biodiesel's physical characteristics. First off, we have specific gravity of 0.88. Kinematic viscosity at 40 degrees Celsius is 4.0 to 6.0. Cetane number. Cetane number is a quantity indicating the ignition properties of diesel fuel relative to cetane as a standard. And for biodiesel, it is 47 to 65. Next, higher heating value. BTU, also known as British Thermal Unit per gallon, it gives off a reading of 127,960. Lower heating value, BTU per gallon, is 119,550. Density, pounds per gallon at 15.5 degrees Celsius is 7.3. Carbon percentage is 77. Hydrogen has 12. Oxygen, by difference, have 11%. Boiling point of biodiesel is 315 to 350 degrees Celsius. Flashpoint. Flashpoint is 100 to 170 degrees Celsius. Sulfur goes from 0.0 to 0.0015%, which is very little. Cloud point. Cloud point is a temperature at which wax, paraffin, begins to separate when oil chilled to a low temperature. It serves as an important indicator of practical performance in automotive application in low temperatures. And at this point, biodiesel has only a cloud point of -3 to 15. Final is pour point. Pour point is a temperature below which the liquid loses its flow characteristics. And for biodiesel, it is -5 to 10 degrees Celsius.
(7.1) The composition and properties of various vegetable oil for engine. Vegetable oil for engine. Vegetable oils are oil extracted from seed or less often from other parts of fruit. The vegetable oil are increasingly used as a substitute for fossil fuel. It can be used as an alternative fuel in diesel engine and in heating oil burners. Vegetable oils are the basis of the biodiesel, which can be used like conventional diesel. And vegetable oil is used for transportation in 4 different ways. First one is the vegetable oil blends. Mixing vegetable oil with diesel lets user get some of the advantages of burning vegetable oil and is often done with no modification to the vehicle. And second one is the biodiesel. If vegetable oil is esterified, it becomes biodiesel. Biodiesel burns like normal diesel and works fine in any diesel engine. The name just indicates that the fuel comes from vegetable oil. The third one is straight vegetable oil. It works in diesel engine if it is heat first. Some diesel engine already heat the fuel, others need a small electric heater on the fuel line. The fourth one is the vegetable oil refining. Vegetable oil can be used as feedstock for an oil refinery. There, it can be transformed into fuel by hydrocracking or hydrogenation. This method can produce gasoline, diesel, or propane. Then vegetable oil, also known as triglyceride, which have the chemical structure comprised of 98% triglyceride and small amount of mono and diglycerides. Triglycerides are the ester of three molecules of fatty acid and one of the glycerol and contain substantial amount of oxygen in their structure, whereas vegetable oils are distinguished by their fatty acid composition. So this is structure of the typical triglyceride molecule. Then next is this table shows the types of fatty acid and their chemical name, structure, and formulas. Okay, then next, this table shows the various type of vegetable oil that can be used for the engine.
Next, we will proceed for the properties of various vegetable oil for engine. So, what are actually the properties that we need to figure out for the vegetable oil that can be used for engine? For your information, there are 5 important properties, which is emission quality, viscosity, heating value, important temperature, and also there are the other properties that will contribute to the characteristic of the biodiesel. Alright, first of all, ignition quality. The ignition characteristic of the fuel affect the emission delay. The emission delay of a fuel is defined by its Cetane number. For low Cetane fuel, the ignition delay is long and most of the fuel is injected before auto ignition and rapidly burns. Under extreme cases, this produces an audible knocking sound referred to as diesel knock. For higher Cetane value, the ignition delay is short and very little fuel is injected before auto ignition. The heat release rate is controlled by the rate of fuel injection, and fuel air mixing becomes smoother for the engine operation. Moreover, for the viscosity, a potent role in the combustion that decides the ease of combustion and thermal efficiency of the engine. Too low viscosity can lead to excessive internal pump leakage where system pressure reach an unacceptable level and will affect injection during the spray automation. The effect of viscosity is critical at low speed or light load condition. In addition, as for the heating value, although the diesel combustion chamber system can accept wide variation in heating value, practical systems are only suitable when the calorific value of the fuel is high. It helps to reduce the quality of fuel handled and maximize the equipment operating range. It is always desirable for the vegetable oil to have a calorific value nearer to the to that of diesel. In addition, for the important temperature, for internal combustion engine in cold weather operation, boiling point and cold point are important. The value of both should be well below the freezing point of the fuel used for optimal operation. Flashpoint is an important temperature from a safety point of view. This temperature should be as high as practical possible. Typical value of commercial vegetable oil fuel range between 50 and 110 Celsius. Vegetable oil diesel blend should not decrease the flashpoint temperature. And next, for the other properties, the sulfur content, carbon residue, and ash are responsible for the corrosion and forming a residue on the engine part, which will affect the engine life. Practical value are around 0.5% for the sulfur, 0.27% for the carbon residue, and 0.01% for the ash. Lastly, this is the table of fuel properties of different vegetable oil compared to fossil fuels. From this table, it shows the density, kinematic viscosity, cetane number, HSV, flash point, carbon residue, iodine value, pour point, and sulfur content for the vegetable oil. Alright, you can see that the biodiesel have density around 860 to 900, and the kinematic viscosity of the biodiesel is around 3.5 to 5.0. The certain number of the biodiesel is more than 51. The flash point for the biodiesel is around 120. The carbon residue for the biodiesel is 0.3. The iodine number for the biodiesel is around 120. And lastly, the sulfur content for the biodiesel is 1%.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Faisal. Now I want to present to you about edible and non-edible oil sources in biodiesel production. Okay. Basically, in edible source in biodiesel production, there are two sources that comes and produce biodiesel fuel. First is animal fat, which is the beef tallow, pork lard, and chicken fat. Other than that, we also have plant seed, which also contains soy oil, mustard oil, and olive oil. Other than that, for the plant sources to produce biodiesel fuel, we also have the palm oil. Okay, the palm oil. Okay, this is the picture of the palm oil. Palm oil is scientifically known as Ilis genesis, native to the West Africa, and also can be cultivated easily in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. The next edible source of biodiesel production is this. This is Aleatus molucana. In Malaysia, we call this seed is buah keras. Buah keras. Why we call buah keras? Because this plant has many. Why we call buah keras? Because it is native to Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. Basically, it has many so-called buah keras. Okay. Next, we go to the non-edible sources. The first is Jatropha curcas. This is the tree of the Jatropha curcas. It is produced in Asia, Europe, and Africa. Okay. we can see here Jatropha curcas is a small tree or large shrub up to 5 to 7 meter tall, belonging to the Euphorbiaceae family. Yes, Euphorbiaceae family. That's one of the non-edible source for biodiesel fuel. Other than that, we also have Stercula foetidea. This is known as Stercula foetidea. In Malaysia, we call pokok kelumpang jari. Okay, the plant has an average lifespan of more than 100 years. Wow, more than 100 years. Okay, next is edible is Celophyllum inophyllum. This plant origin in East Africa, India, Southeast Asia, and Australia. The last example of edible sources from plant to produce biodiesel fuel is Ciba pentandra. Ciba pentandra is also known as kekabu, pokok kekabu. Next, we move to the biodiesel production. How the biodiesel fuel produced. Basically, biodiesel is an idea of producing diesel using animal and plant sources. Okay, the production of the biodiesel in small amount is done in the laboratory, while the production of biodiesel in large amount is done for commercial. Biodiesel need raw materials such as animal and plant. Animal, we have the fat, and plant, we have the seed oil. If comes from the animal, it is animal body fat. If comes from plant, it comes from seed oil or edible oil, soy oil, mustard oil, and olive oil. We need methanol to help generate the biodiesel oil. Why we choose animal fat? Because it contains glycerol and normal fatty acid. This glycerol and normal fatty acid will produce triglyceride, TAG here. Okay. Fatty acid also contain hydrocarbon chain. It will produce some hydrocarbon rich fuel. We also need catalyst to make the reaction between methanol and animal fat to happen. So we use catalyst. Here is sulfuric acid. Okay. The first chamber that is involved in the production of biodiesel fuel is mixing chamber. After that, it will flow to the reaction chamber, followed by the separator, and it will produce the biodiesel fuel. In mixing chamber, we will add the raw material. The raw material here is animal fat. Then we will add some methanol and add sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid helps methanol and animal fat. Sulfuric acid helps methanol and animal fat mix very well. After that, the product from mixing chamber is flow to the reaction chamber. In reaction chamber, we will add some methanol and some sulfuric acid to produce more biodiesel fuel. Then it will flow to the separator chamber. This separator chamber has two sensors, the bottom and the top. The bottom will detect the glycerol, while the top obviously will detect the biodiesel. The glycerol will settle down to the bottom, while the biodiesel will float on the top. The biodiesel will be produced more than the glycerol. The two sensors help to distinguish between the biodiesel and glycerol. This is the bottom counter chamber will drag all the glycerol that is produced and convert them into glycerin. while the top counter here will drag the biodiesel to be further purified before using it. Glycerol produced will also contain some methanol. Glycerol here produced will also contain some methanol and convert it into glycerin. This methanol here can be used as fertilizer in fluid. That's all for now. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. My name is Amiruddin. Now I would like to talk about performance and emission of biodiesel. Okay, first of all, I would like to talk about comparison of diesel and biodiesel on performance. Okay, nowadays there are over 20% of global demand energy is used for transportation, and as you can see that most of the heavy vehicle are using diesel engine. This is because the CI engine have gained popularity due to their higher thermal efficiency compared to the spark ignition engine. Okay, then we go to the simulation result for the performance comparative of diesel engine using diesel fuel and biodiesel fuel. Okay, first of all, I would like to talk on the effect of engine speed variation on the brake power. As we can see that from the graph, the graph is increasing as compared to between the diesel and biodiesel. For the biodiesel engine are better, it is better than diesel. Biodiesel is better than diesel engine. For the next one is comparison between engine speed performance versus the brake torque. So you guys can see from the figure 2, which is the graph is decreasing, to show that the biodiesel is better than diesel engine. Next, we go to the brake specific fuel consumption against the engine speed. They generally shows that the brake specific BSFC for diesel is lower than the biodiesel. This trend representing due to the lower of energy content for biodiesel fuel, thus need more BSFC to present same level of power. Okay, then we go to the emission of the biodiesel. Okay, the carbon dioxide emissions are affected by the combustion efficiency related engine parameter as well as biodiesel use. The biodiesel give impact on carbon dioxide emissions due to its favorable influence on the environment. Okay, from figure 4, it shows that the comparison between the nitrogen oxide emission for the biodiesel A, B, biodiesel B and diesel. For the biodiesel A, nitric oxide emission shows a decreasing trend with increasing blend ratio, whereas the biodiesel B emission increase with a blend ratio. The nitrogen oxide emission can increase or decrease depending on the number of factors such as biodiesel type, engine type and test procedures used. Okay, for the figure 5 also shows the carbon monoxide emissions for the biodiesel A, biodiesel B over the ISO 8178 test procedure. Both biodiesel shows the significant decrease on the carbon oxide emission with decreasing blend ratio. For the biodiesel A, the decrease is 55% and for biodiesel B is decrease about 30%. The hydrocarbon emissions result for the biodiesels are shown in figure 8. It can be seen that both biodiesel A and B increase in hydrocarbon emission with increasing blend ratio. Okay, thank you.